So you're afraid of money, you're afraid of abundance, and there's absolutely no shame in admitting that, because I used to be like that. I used to be so panicky and afraid of having abundance, but anything that you recognize is something that you can overcome. And this is going to be like an explanation of my journey, how I overcame my fear of money and why you have a fear of money and why you have a fear of abundance. Maybe you will be like, what's this chick talking about? Like, I'm not afraid of money. I want to be abundant. I want to be rich. I want to be a billionaire, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, hon, but you are afraid of money, because if you weren't afraid of money, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here where I was like 3-4 years ago. Why? Because wherever you are in life is somewhere where you're comfortable. If you're comfortable in the situation that you are in right now, it's because there's something that you're getting out of it, of getting into this like either lack mindset or abundance mindset. Because at the end of the day, I feel like in life, there's only two mindsets: the lack mentality and the abundance mentality. You're either here or here. So if you're watching this video, I will assume you're here, because if you weren't in the abundance mentality, you wouldn't be watching for advice, or you wouldn't be finding other people to be like, hey, how can I change my mindset? How can I manifest more abundance? How can I make this happen for myself? There's two parts in this. The first thing is that abundance mentality, or any kind of mentality in this life, is a choice. You decide what mentality you have, and the life will manifest once you change your mentality, and you can start changing certain things today that will make you either a lack person or an abundance person. And the second thing is like, why do you have this mentality right now? And it's probably because of trauma. It's obviously because of your childhood. It's obviously because of your like storyline, people you've surrounded yourself with, opportunities you've seen, taking things personal, blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the day, it's a matter of like, you are getting something out of being in the lack mindset. You probably, I don't know, maybe you complain a lot about like, oh my God, my life is so bad. Boy, does everyone else have so much luck and I don't, all of these things. Then you're getting something out of complaining. You're getting this dopamine rush for like a second, for like a minute, when you're talking with your friends about like, oh, I'm complaining that my life is this, everything is shit, blah, blah, blah. And someone who has an abundance mentality wouldn't do that. They wouldn't, because if you are in the abundance mindset, you would not be complaining, you would be appreciating. You would be like, oh my God, I'm so lucky that I have all these opportunities coming in. Or if you don't have opportunities, you would be like, oh my God, I'm so abundant in time, because maybe I'm unemployed right now, but I'm abundant in time. Because at the end of the day, it's not a matter of like, I can only appreciate abundance in money. You can appreciate abundance in any shape or form, which is time, opportunities, work, love, a pet, anything at the end of the day. So it can be complaining, it can be criticizing other people, it can be having envy, it can be whatever. It can be literally whatever, but there's something that you're getting out of your lack mentality. And that's something that you need to figure out, like, okay, why am I so comfortable living in this like fearful mindset of abundance? Like, what am I getting from this? Is it because like in the past, whenever I had like a bit of money or a bit of something, people would ask me for favors, and this is my way to like keep myself safe from that? Is it because I've always heard like, oh, money makes people go corrupt, or money just like makes people become really bad people? I don't want to kind of like deal with the possibility of becoming that person. What is it exactly that's keeping you in this mindset? Because at the end of the day, if this is something that helps you, is like when people are bad people, when people are selfish, they're selfish with or without money. They will be corrupt with or without money, because I've met both, and they will be whatever they are with or without money. Money, I feel like, just makes the scale bigger or smaller, but it doesn't really change the person. If you're meant to be corrupt, you will be corrupt with or without money. So like there's nothing in there that will help you with that. But at the end of the day, it's the following. It's like you need to figure out like what your fear is so that you can overcome it. And a lot of people will be like, okay, so how do I stop being afraid of this? You don't. You will have to do it scared. You will have to see what exactly your fears. For example, like something that my therapist told me a long time ago is that I was afraid, because I used to tell him all the time, like, yeah, because I'm afraid of failing, so obviously I don't try, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, wait, you're not afraid of failing. You're afraid of actually succeeding, because you don't know what success is. Like, you want success really bad, but you don't know what that feels like. You don't know what that means. In your head, maybe you feel like there's so many responsibilities that come with it. And that would be the farthest from the truth, you know? And when I think about like my life or like my experience when it comes to abundance, is that I used to be working when I was 19 years old, when I started with this whole journey, until I was like 23, which is when I started making like way more money. I realized that I was working at a Pull & Bear, which is like a Zara company kind of thing. I was making like €3 an hour. I worked like 40 hours or 30 hours a week. I made next to nothing. My bank account was always empty. I was like, I would pay rent. I would live in like a closet because my room wouldn't even have a window because it was technically a closet, just a walk-in closet, but they just transformed it into like a very cheap room because that's the only thing I could afford back then. And I was making that money, and there was a part of me when I look back to it, or when I even like I was kind of getting myself out of that situation, that I was like, I deserve this. I deserve this. I deserve to be treated like this, because all my life I also come from a family of like trauma, like both my parents being narcissistic and all of that. And my parents always made me feel like I was the worst person on the planet. And what happened with that is that the moment that, for example, I transitioned from that job to another job that paid a bit more and everything, I actually could afford a better apartment and a better room and a better everything. And until my ex at that time was like, Ada, you should get a new room, because something a bit more expensive was probably going to have a window, ventilation, and better everything. And it took me forever to kind of like also go after a better room, even though I had the money for it at that point when like it improved a little bit, but just because I didn't think I deserved it. And that's a big part about this as well, is like, you need to think that you deserve things. You need to see how much you're worth, and you need to work on your self-esteem, because if you don't work in your self-esteem, abundance is never gonna come to you. And there's actually like a really nice story from Jay Shetty that he said on an event one time that I really think reflects the situation really good. And it's that he once, well, not he, no, this story has nothing to do with him. He just told it. There was a father once that told his daughter, well, they were talking about self-esteem and like seeing your value, your worth and everything. And he would go to his daughter and be like, here's a diamond, go to the baker. And when he asks how much you want for the diamond, you're just gonna hold your hand like this and say 2. And so she went to the baker. The baker was like, how much do you want for it? She's like, 2. And he's like, $2. Okay, yeah, I guess I'll take it. Whatever. She comes back home and the father is like, okay, I'm going to give you another diamond, exactly the same one. And you're going to go to the pawn shop and you're going to do the same exact thing. She goes to the pawn shop. She's like, 2. And he's like, 200. Well, I guess it's okay. It's a good price, decent price. Okay, I'll take it. She comes back home, tells her dad, and he's like, okay, now I'm going to give you another one. And you're going to go to the jeweler and do the same thing. And she goes to the jeweler and she's like, 2. And he's like, $200,000. Actually, that's really good price, because this is like a very unique pink diamond that I had never seen before. So you can see that through these 3 different experiences, people were just like not equipped sometimes to see the worth of this diamond, and this diamond is obviously you. And it really matters the kind of people you surround yourself with. And I feel like when you've had a childhood where you were not surrounded with the right people, or like maybe your parents weren't really able to see your worth, which in my case they weren't. Like my parents maybe saw my worth in some areas, but they would always kind of like make me feel really dumb or really stupid, or really like I was not the best, or they would also not value themselves because of like generational things. So both of my parents, I feel like, have a really low self-esteem, and when it comes to that, they're just not able to appreciate certain things. So it's really, really, really important when it comes to abundance to surround yourself with people who see your worth. Because I know that a lot of times people are like, it's so important the people you surround yourself with, because like if you surround yourself with rich people, then you will become rich and abundant just because you surround yourself with them. And I feel like that's not exactly true at the end of the day. I feel like it's more a matter of like, if you surround yourself with the right friends, for example, or acquaintances that they see your worth and they remind you of your worth constantly, of like, oh my God, Ada, didn't you know that you do this so well? You do this so well. You know, I feel like that is the real reason you need to surround yourself with the right people. Not because they're rich, not because they can teach you things. I mean, obviously that's an extra, that's a great thing. But I think at the end of the day, it's a matter of like, they will, like the right people, they don't need to be rich. They just need to like see your worth and remind you of your worth constantly. Because sometimes like when things, that's another thing also that kind of ties into this that I've realized over time, is that when something comes really easily to you over time, of something that maybe you've done your entire life, you don't think it's worth money, because to you or to me, for example, it's just a game. For example, I started doing like interviews when I was 14 because I really liked doing them. And I remember like when I was that age, I offered to a blog like, hey, if you want, I could help out with the interviews, blah, blah, blah. And I did a few back then, and to me it wasn't that big of a deal, and I never asked for money because I was like, you know, like I'm 14, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just doing this because like this is fun and I love reading like fantasy literature, and I would just interview like random authors. And then someone saw those interviews and then they offered me money for that, and I was like, I would have never thought of asking for money because I never saw the worth in this, because for me this was fun, this was a game, this was something I enjoyed doing. And that's something that I've realized and seen over time, of like when I started working for this one shop where I made, like, as I said, €3 something. 3 years later, I was making 100 an hour. And it's like, how do you go from this to this? And if you look at it, if you look at what I was doing after, because you could think like, oh, you got your college degree, so you could charge more and this and that. I did get my college degree, but I was not making money with anything that was related to my college degree. I was doing just web design and things like that I had just developed in my free time, because I've always enjoyed doing like Photoshop, this and this and that. So at the end of the day, I realized that some things, like the things that come easier to you, are the ones that usually are going to make you the most money. And they just come, they just flow through. They're just kind of like a representation of your essence. But usually you don't think of asking people for money, or you don't think of asking them too much, because you're like, oh, there's 100 other people doing this. But once, like, one of the things that I've realized, like now that I do social media audits, because I'm marketing strategist, and I help with like people with their TikTok accounts to like improve sales and all of that. One of the things that I've realized is that people started asking me through my profile, because they saw my profile and they were like, oh, Ada, I really want you to like help me with an audit. Could you do that? And I was like, okay, sure. And I started charging like $100 for like an audit, which would be like a 1 hour call, and like another half an hour, 1 hour for me of like preparing the audit. And I remember like doing that one day. And then when I was just like, you know what, I actually want to charge $150 instead of $100. And I just raised my prices from like one day to the next, and people would continue paying them. And I was like, that's just bizarre to me. That just like shows how much like money is just like a made up concept. At the end of the day, money is just like, I mean, it's time. You're paying for time at the end of the day. So when you think about like how much time maybe you've spent developing a certain topic, even if it's something that you did for fun, then you can see how you can get kind of like your time back, if that makes sense. And something that I've always enjoyed doing is social media, just as a fun thing, because I am content creator. I like doing certain things. And what I've realized is like through my audits is that I don't have a degree or anything in marketing. I just had fun doing that for my own account. And then I was also really good at kind of like seeing patterns or seeing what other people did wrong. And I was like, well, I can offer these services. And I've seen other people maybe charge like half of what I charge, and maybe they get a bit more clients than I do. But I've realized that I make my clients constantly, regularly, and I don't need to ever worry about clients coming or going, because this is something that I'm really good at, if that makes sense. And this is something that I actually realized because I was always helping my friends and helping people around me with their social media. And I was always like, oh, let me do your audit for free, because I really feel like your profile could really pop off if you did this and this and this. So if there's something that you want to maybe start as like an online business or something like that, kind of like figure out what you like doing for your friends or for people around you that you just come up with naturally. And the other thing that I also wanted to say is that if you're having some kind of like online business thing, or you want to start something, something that I've realized is the following, and it's that I've met people who are like, oh yeah, because like I'm an artist and I want to do art, but like the world for artists is so complicated, it's so this, it's so that. And that's one of those limiting beliefs that people have. Like, I'm gonna stay in my comfort zone and just pretend that art is just so complicated because I want to be a struggling artist and I want to have this whole aesthetic to myself, when you don't have to be a struggling artist, because I have like 10 friends who are making so much more money than I am being an artist. So no, like if you want to look for opportunities, you will find them. If you want to look for lack of opportunities, you will find it too. So what I've seen is like, if you don't put your art out there, or the more you put yourself out there, the more you're going to attract these opportunities. You know, for example, like let's say you're an artist, or you're a logo maker, or you are a writer or whatever. If you don't show your work constantly, and today with like social media, YouTube, and all of these platforms, you have so many places to showcase your talent. If you're not doing that, you are the one who's like saying or deciding that you are a person who is like broke or poor or whatever, and you're just staying there. And you're deciding to like literally just consciously stay there. And it's because you're afraid. And I understand that. And I mean, I think everyone just is entitled to be afraid or to, you know, be panicky about this, because I was for a long time. But it comes a moment, and I feel like this video might be the moment for some people to be like, okay, now I know that I can make a conscious choice of changing this and be like, okay, I can change my mindset today, because the mindset doesn't really tie with having anything material. You don't need to have a house to be abundant. You don't need to have a certain amount of money in the bank to be abundant. You just need to change your mindset. You just need to start like changing from complaining all the time to being appreciative all the time, for example, and be like, instead of being like, oh my God, I never find opportunities, to be like, you know what? I actually create my own opportunities. I'm going to start showing my whatever I do on social media. I'm going to start trying this and I'm going to try that, because an abundance mindset is always going to be looking for a solution. Like mindset is always going to be looking for the problem. So you're the one who's doing either or. So you're the one who gets to decide if you're doing one or the other. And if you decide to stay where you are, then it's a you choice. Like it's totally fine that you stay where you are. Maybe this video wasn't like for you at this point, but just remember that you're choosing the mindset that you're staying with. And I also want to add to this that if there's any of you, because I'm sure that you've seen other videos that talk about like abundance mindset and all of that, one of the things that I do not agree with is all of these people who are like, yeah, because if you want to manifest money, you need to kind of like start acting as if you already have the money in your bank account and start like paying for things without looking at the prices, blah, blah, blah. And that I think that's not a good idea. I feel like whenever I have done that in the past, whenever I was like in a really tight money situation, that didn't help. Because at the end of the day, it's like you don't really need to be spending or actually spending money if you don't have that like $1 million thing in your bank account. If that's just going to create more stress for you, because at the end of the day, I feel like that's counterproductive. You can like have moments where you feel or you want to make yourself feel abundant. And if one day you, for example, want to buy a $500 pair of shoes when you have like $0 in your bank account, you can go to a nice shop, just pretend that you're a rich person, just try them on and walk with them and just appreciate that moment of luxury without ever spending a dime, you know? So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if you're like going to the supermarket and doing this and this and that. It doesn't really matter that you're spending, assuming that you have all this money, because I feel like for a lot of people that creates unnecessary stress and that just like makes you go even further back to the lack mentality. I feel like it's better to just like stay in like what's it called, like a balanced place, you know? So I just wanted to say that, because I know a lot of people who watch this sometimes come from like underdeveloped countries, and I am talking from my white privileged girl mindset. I obviously had certain things easier than other people, but I feel like at the end of the day, everyone has like a similar amount of opportunities in a certain aspect. Obviously you're limited by like your skin color, this and this and that, because some things just work the way that they work, unfortunately. But I feel like most of you, for example, you have access to internet, you have access to watching this video, so you probably have access to doing certain things that maybe you're not doing right now. So start looking for solutions instead of problems, okay? So I hope this was helpful. If anyone in the comments, by the way, wants to leave like what they're afraid of, or what the reason is for them, or what the reason was for them to kind of like stay in that lack mindset, you can leave them in the comments. If you want any advice on anything, I will be more than happy to answer all of you. And I'll see you guys in the next video.